This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
"6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news, edited by Lal Mallavarachi and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, take a look at the headlines. Secretaries of all political parties have been summoned to the Elections Commission. The second phase of the first term of the government schools will commence tomorrow. The World Environmental Day falls today. Intellectuals in the agricultural sector point out the need to cultivate crops in the home gardens. The government plans to maintain the supply of fuel for three-wheelers. There is an increase of dengue cases due to the southwest monsoonal rains. In news overseas, Biden's meeting with Saudi Crown Prince pushed back to July. And in sports news, Lords likely to host the World Test Championships finals in the year 2023. Those are the headlines, and now more to the details of the local news. Secretaries of all political parties have been summoned to the Elections Commission tomorrow for a meeting. Chairman of the Commission, Nimal Ponchiheva, told the SLBC the meeting will be convened to consult with the parties on the 2022 electoral register, the current political crisis, and to state the Commission's position. The Elections Commission further stated that it hopes to certify the 2022 electoral register by 31st of October 2022. The Ministry of Education says the second phase of the first term of all grades of the government schools and government-approved private schools will commence tomorrow. The first phase of the first term of the schools came to an end on the 19th of May. Schools remained closed in view of the 2021-22 GCE ordinary level examinations held from May 23rd to the 1st of June. The World Environment Day falls today. It is celebrated on the 5th of June every year. This year, the world would celebrate the 49th World Environment Day, which is supported and led by the United Nations Environment Programme's UNEP and has been conducted annually since the year 1973. The main ceremony in Sri Lanka will be held at the Environment Ministry premises this morning. A tree planting campaign will also take place in line with the event. The World Environment Day has grown to be the largest global platform for environmental outreach. It is celebrated by millions of people across the world. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance.
And we continue with more local news. The government is to identify all underutilized lands owned by the plantation companies and prepare an expeditious program to cultivate food crops. Plantation companies own more than 9,000 hectares of uncultivated land. The president pointed out the need to identify suitable crops for cultivation in the respective estates owned by 23 companies. Meanwhile, intellectuals in the agricultural sector point out the need to cultivate crops in the home gardens to face any possible food shortage in the future. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the government has planned to maintain the supply of fuel for three-wheelers in a manner that would not be a problem in the future. It was stated by the Prime Minister during a meeting with the representatives of the three-wheeler associations recently. The Prime Minister agreed to support the establishment of a three-wheeler regulatory body. The Prime Minister also pointed out that the country needs $500 million a month to import the required fuel. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. Secretaries of all political parties have been summoned to the Elections Commission. The second phase of the first term of the government schools will commence tomorrow. The World Environment Day falls today. Intellectuals in the agricultural sector point out the need to cultivate crops in the home gardens. The government plans to maintain the supply of fuel for three-wheelers. There is an increase of dengue cases due to the southwest monsoonal rains. And that was the local news.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. A health insurance plan to honor our most valued elders by the protectors of the nation. We now give our treasured senior citizens access to the very best medical insurance, specially tailored for anyone over 60. What's more, you don't need medical screening to access this policy. And Medi60 covers a wide range of illnesses. Only from Sri Lanka Insurance. Call 0112 357 357.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for this morning, there is an increase of dengue cases with the southwest monsoonal rains. Disaster Management Centre Director General, retired Major General Sudhanta Ranasinghe said. Therefore, he requests the public to support the control of spread of dengue by destroying all mosquito breeding places. The National Dengue Control Unit of the Ministry of Health said that 24,523 suspected dengue cases have been reported in the country so far for this year, and of them, 6,483 cases were reported in May. The number of suspected dengue cases reported on the 1st June stood at 313. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And we move on to Watchlight. Laughs Gas PLC says it expects to release domestic LP gas cylinders to the market from next week. A spokesperson of the company also noted that the price of an LP gas cylinder is likely to undergo an increase. Accordingly, the price of a 12.5 kilogram cylinder will soar over 6,000 rupees. Meanwhile, Litrogas Lanka said the new shipment of 2,500 metric tons of LP gas is reaching the island today. The company requests the general public not to wait in queues for a long time and for the time being, as its distribution process is expected to resume on Tuesday. That was Watchlight, and now we move on to the headlines of the world news. Biden's meeting with Saudi Crown Prince pushed back to July. Ukraine's anger as Macron says not to humiliate Russia. Royals wish Lilibet a happy birthday for the first time. Those are the headlines, and now more to the details of the world news. A meeting between President Joe Biden and Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is now expected to happen next month, according to an administration official. CNN reported earlier this week that Biden and Crown Prince were planning to meet at the end of June as a part of a broader summit of the Gulf Cooperation Council, which Saudi Arabia currently presides over. Biden is still expected to travel later this month to Germany and Spain for the G7 and NATO summits, respectively. Ukraine's foreign minister has hit out at French President Emmanuel Macron after he said it was vital that Russia was not humiliated over its invasion. Mr. Macron said it was crucial President Vladimir Putin had a way out of his so-called fundamental error. But Dmytro Kulibela said allies should better focus on how to put Russia in its place and it humiliates itself. Mr. Macron has repeatedly spoken to Mr. Putin by phone in an effort to broker a ceasefire and negotiations. Senior royals have tweeted their birthday wish to little Lilibet, the daughter of Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who turned 1 yesterday. The greetings came from Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall, as well as her aunt and uncle, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. This week would have been the first opportunity for the Queen to meet her great-granddaughter. Harry and Meghan are in London with their children for the Jubilee. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. Biden's meeting with Saudi Crown Prince pushed back to July. Ukraine anger as Macron says not to humiliate Russia. Royals wish Lilibet a happy first birthday. And that was the world news, and now we move on to development news. Colombo Port has been placed in the 22nd place in the world and first in South Asia in a ranking compiled by the World Bank and Standards & Poor's Market Intelligence. In the year 2021, Colombo had handled 7.25 million 20-foot equivalent containers TEUs, and there is a 2% growth up to May 2022, terminals in the port said in a joint statement. Sri Lanka Ports Authority Chairman Prasantha Jamana said its Deepwater East Container Terminal is under construction. The West Container Terminal by the Jonkiers Holdings and Andhani Ports is also stated. In the next 2 to 5 years, the two terminals will aid 7 million TEUs in capacity. And that was the development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank, we present your future.
Moving on to sports news, the World Test Championships WTC would get the showpiece final in its wanted in the summer of 2023 as the ICC works to have its stage at Lord's. Lord's has been informally earmarked as the venue for the first WTC final last summer, but because of COVID-19, the game was instead played in Southampton at the Aegis Bowl. And at the same time, the UK was still moving out of its restrictions put in place because of the pandemic. Southampton, which has hosted international cricket in the summer of 2020, at the start of the pandemic, was seen as the ideal venue logistically to keep players in a biosecure bubble because of its on-site hotel. New Zealand beat India in the final to become the inaugural Test World Champions. But as restrictions have ended in the UK and biosecure bubbles have been eased out, the ICC is now hoping once again to stage the finals at Lord's. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
A guidance rate mandated by the bank is not found in the real world, and the Monetary Authority has no ability to enforce a managed float with negative reserves, a top economist and ex-Central Bank Deputy Governor W.A. Vijayawardena has said. The central bank stated, quoting a guidance rate for interbank market at around 360 through the US dollars in May, about 20 to 30 rupees below the market rate, at a time where a higher level of middle remittances were also starting to come from exchange houses. Banks are quoting telegraphic transfer around 365 rupees to the dollar. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The Sri Lanka Association of Manufacturers and Exporters of Rubber Products say the country's power disruption is slowing down the rubber exports despite there being an increased global demand for rubber-based products this year. Secretary General of the association, Rohan Masakorala, says the rubber industry's order books are full and we are being offered more orders. Export earnings from rubber and rubber-related finished products from January to April 2022 have edged up 1.3% to $337.6 million compared to $333.28 million in the same period last year. That was economic news and the weather report to conclude.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking. LOLC Finance will continue to innovate with the next generation digitalization of financial services, delivering a superior customer experience.
And finally, the weather report. The Met Department says that showers or thunder showers will occur times in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the northwestern province. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Ampara district during the evening or night. And before we conclude this bulletin of news, let's get back to the headlines once again. Secretaries of all political parties have been summoned to the Elections Commission. The second phase of the first term of the government schools will commence tomorrow. The World Environment Day falls today. Intellectuals in the agricultural sector point out the need to cultivate crops in the home gardens. The government plans to maintain the supply of fuel for three-wheelers. There is an increase of dengue cases due to the southwest monsoonal rains. In news overseas, Biden's meeting with Saudi Crown Prince pushed back to July. And in sports news, Lord's likely to host the World Test Championships final in the year 2023. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news.